Hello and welcome everyone to another one of our webinars. Most of you would know me by now, but I am Peter Kleinans and I'm one of the technical team members here at Trotec Lasers South Africa. I hope you will find this useful and maybe apply it to your current business. I am running solo today, and if things are not as smooth as I would like like to apologize in advance. As always, feel free to post your questions and I would answer all the questions possible at the end of the webinar. Any questions I do not get to, we will of course respond to per email. Just leave us your name and company name for reference. We have decided to put a bit more focus on the machine side of things with the camera, so you will notice just the inside currently of the Trotec Laser Speedy 300 Flexx. Today we are looking at the Speedy 300 Flexx and the setup with the different material heights and different materials in one job. The Flexx range is equipped with both a CO2 laser source as well as a fiber laser source. They are available in the Speedy 100, the 300, the Speedy 360, as well as the Speedy 400 range. There are some great advantages of owning a Flexx, but we will come back to this in a bit. Today's webinar would be more on the technical setup side of things on a machine like this. We have chosen 3 different products for today's demonstration. We have our standard troll lace white black, 1.6 millimeter, one of our stainless steel hip flasks, and one of our veneer woods. We are using the 2.85-inch lens for the Flexx for this application, and this lens is for both CO2 and fiber use. Please keep in mind though that your different lenses do not always work with both CO2 and fiber due to the different wavelengths and how the lens are constructed. And if using the incorrect lens, it can be a very expensive mistake. CO2 works with mostly heat, and fiber are basically just concentrated light. So if you run the heat from a CO2 laser through a lens that is designed to handle mostly light, the laser will damage the lens. Focusing is done using our standard little focus tool specific to the 2.85-inch lens. We do the focusing on the lowest part, which would be our 1.6 millimeter troll lace. We do this because movement downwards is not that limited, but movement upwards is limited to a maximum of 5 millimeters. The focus tool on the Flexx is set for the fiber. There is of course a difference between the fiber and the CO2 focal points, but this is all pre-programmed by Trotec and the machine will automatically adjust accordingly. I'm going to add to our software over here. On Coral Draw, we have our artwork set, and you will notice 3 different colors. The machine does not engrave color, but we utilize the colors to tell the machine what to do. In this case, my black is set for my troll lace, my blue is set for the stainless steel hip flask, and my green is set for the veneer wood. Although we will run it as one job, I am printing the 3 items separately for ease of positioning. Before we continue to the print menu, I have drawn up a basic idea for you so that you can see what we are looking at for the height differences. We have the troll lace at 1.6 millimeter thick. We have the stainless steel hip flask still in its packaging, as you can see, just with the plastic removed. This sits at about 32 millimeters above the table. And then the veneer wood, which is the 3 millimeter product. In our print menu, which I'm just quickly opening for you, we will select our material. For today, I have created one called webinar, and I'm just going to open my material settings from here. In the material settings, you will see I have enabled black, blue, and green, same as the artwork that you would have seen on screen just now. Under the material type, you will see that I have programmed what we refer to as a ZOffset over here. ZOffset is a value in millimeters that control the movement of our Z-axis for each parameter. So if there is a positive value under the Z-offset, the Z-axis will move away from the lens, downwards, the amount specified, given it be 2 mil, 3 mil, whatever the case might be. Same with a negative number, just the opposite direction, upwards of course. However, negative or upwards numbers are limited to 5 millimeters, and this is to protect your motion system against collision. Each material that you will see over here, I have programmed with that individual material's settings, as well as the Z offset I have calculated beforehand. This is the focal height difference between the different products. Using the Z offset, the machine will automatically adjust its focal point to match our measured distance. The Z offset is also used in other scenarios, like on the throw layers. For instance, you will see I've got a Z offset of 2 millimeters. That I normally use to get a smooth, clean, and solid finish. Each of the colors are also set, as I mentioned before, for the particular material settings. From here, we will just send it through to job control. And once in job control, I will use the red pointer on the machine side of things, which you will unfortunately not see on the camera, for position. So for the square items, of course, I will position the red pointer on the top left corner or top right, whichever way. But for the flask, I will use the center point because that would be my easiest reference point. Wherever the red pointer is on the machine, you will see on screen the crosshair. The crosshair would just reflect wherever the red pointer is positioned on the work area on the machine side of things. So for the square products, as I mentioned, we would just position on any of the corners. Just going to use this sample job. You'll notice it snaps to the particular point. As soon as I get close, it jumps to it, as well as the center point. There's 5 positions, of course: top left, right, bottom left, right, and center. Once my positioning is done, you will notice over here I've got my plastic on the left, my flask in the center, as well as the wood on the right. Once the positioning is done, I can just press the start button and the machine will start the process of engraving. It will process the job in the order of the set colors. While it's busy, I'm just going to open the material database so that we can discuss this. It will process from number 1 to number 16. Black being set for the throw lays. I have a small movement on the Z-axis, as you can see there on the back side, of 2 millimeter. As mentioned before, this is just to provide us with a nice, smooth finish. And I'm just going to pause there 1 second because it seems my focal point was out. My bad, guys, sorry. As they say, if everything runs smoothly, it's not a good day. Right, so now, once I get that started again, yeah, as I mentioned before, in my material database, we've got our black, blue, and green. We've got the 2 millimeter offset for the throw lays to get the nice smooth black that you will see in a while. We've got the blue set for the hip flask. Setting, of course, for the FLP for the fiber laser. with its material setting and a 27.5mm offset. This would be the height difference that we calculated beforehand between my trolleys, which I focused on, as well as the stainless steel flask. And then lastly, we've got the green set for engraving on the CO2 side of things, and with a 0.6mm, which we calculate to give me a good result on the wood. The machine will, of course, adjust accordingly for each material. The current camera view, you might see the products on the table move further away or even closer sometimes. This is not me playing with the camera, but the Z-axis moving into position as per the Z offsets. Engraving on the different materials, we use, of course, different parameters. For the trolleys and the wood, we would use the CO2 laser, as you would have just seen in the material database, and the fiber for the stainless steel heat flask. The nice thing about the fiber and any metal for that matter is that I do not need any consumables like Surmark or Mark Solid to mark this. The fiber will mark most metals directly without any consumable used. Candace did a webinar a while back on the metal marking products if you do not have a fiber laser that you can use with CO2. Steel or metal engraving using fiber on the flat pack like this is a lot slower. You will see as soon as it moves over to the stainless steel now. If we compare it to a Galva fiber, like in our previous webinar. For those of you that have missed the webinar on our Rayjet U50 Galvo fiber, you are more than welcome to go have a look at the webinars we've done already on our YouTube page. Right, so while that's busy engraving, which materials can be processed with the Speedy Flexx lasers? Well, the applications is almost unlimited. With the combination of CO2 and fiber, you are almost not limited to what you can process. That said, of course, there will be the odd one or two materials that don't react to fiber and that doesn't handle heat very well. But most of the time, you will either have an effect on the one or the other, either CO2 or the fiber. All your leather, your plastics, your acrylics, rubber, wood, and more, of course, you can still do with your CO2 side of things, just with the additional advantage that you can process metal directly and some plastic that can have a color change on fiber. You'll notice it's now moving over to the metal there. And you'll notice the speed is significantly slower than, for instance, on the plastic that's just completed. All of this, of course, you can do in one job without using the two different machines that we normally do, without switching between multiple jobs, and without any manual changes. On the Speedy 300, the Speedy 360, the Speedy offer a bigger rotary attachment. So you can do your metal flasks, you can do metal cups, tumblers, and of course, everything else that you already do on your CO2 side of things. Both the fiber and the CO2 laser sources are activated alternately directly from job control by the click of a button. You would have seen in the material database earlier. I'll just add that again, I'll show you. The only thing we need to change is to specify if we want to engrave FLP or CO2. There is no manual changes, as I mentioned. So you don't have to change the lens in between. You don't have to change focus. That's all done in the software. I know there was some machines on the market that you used to have to reconnect the laser sources. No need on the Trotec Flexx. Between our webinars on our YouTube page, you'll also find some basic maintenance videos on the Ranger 50 and Speedy 100 range. For those of you that want to just make sure that the maintenance is done properly, remember, like any equipment or even cars, the better you look after the equipment with regular services and the correct maintenance, the longer the equipment will last. For those of you watching today, we are going to have a service special for all our Gauteng-based customers towards the mid or towards end of November. If you do want to qualify for your 10% discount, please email support@trodet.co.za to book your service before the 1st of November, and we will include the discount on your invoice. This is basic preventative maintenance service. The technician will check, of course, the whole machine, lubricate where needed, check your beam alignment, check your table alignment, and also see if we can upgrade your software. If, however, there's any parts or major software upgrades required, you will be quoted additionally for this. For the newer machines, of course, you are also welcome to inquire about our maintenance packages. TroCare is a great addition to our standard warranties on the machines. The standard warranty, like with anything else, doesn't cover any labor, doesn't cover traveling, it doesn't cover your wear and tear parts, nor does it cover your optics after 3 months. So depending on the package, this can actually be covered. There are 3 different tiers of this cover: basic, value, and no surprise. Basic cover a certain distance and, of course, a certain amount of labor. There's no parts included. Value, however, includes the basic serviceable items on some of our machines. And then, of course, no surprise, as the name suggests, covers everything without any nasty surprises. These packages is, of course, machine and machine age dependent. If you would like more information on these, please feel free to contact us. The same email address as before, support@trodet.co.za. While we wait for the engraving to complete, let's have a look at some of the usual frequently asked questions. What is the best configuration on laser power or wattage? The machine comes in a whole range of different configurations. The configuration depends on your application. On the CO2 side, it ranges from 30 to 120 watts. On the fiber, it ranges from 20 to 50 watts. The most common configuration would be the 60 watt CO2 and 20 watt fiber. This, however, as mentioned, it all depends on the application and what your future planning would be for your business. Can I use the Flexx lens, the 2.85-inch lens, for everything? Yes and no. The 2.85-inch lens is much further away from our air assist nozzle, which does cause certain materials to flame more, especially when cutting. Of course, this can cause issues. It can cause a piece of material to catch a light. It's also not very high detailed lens, so applications like rubber stamps or paper doesn't work that well on this lens. For this reason, there is a whole range of different lenses available, both dedicated to CO2 and fiber. We will do a separate webinar at some point dedicated to the different lenses, and we might even invite one of our Austrian colleagues to join us for this webinar. Are there any manual changes to be done to engrave both CO2 and fiber? The simple answer is no. Thanks to the patented Flexx technology from Trotec, the only changes required on the Flexx machines would be done in the software. Of course, using the Flexx or the 2.85-inch lens. Our product is almost finished. And as soon as our product is finished, we will look at some of our questions asked in the comment section. Right, so there we have it. We've got, of course, the engraving laminate, normal white black trolleys. You can see on some of the other products that I tested yesterday, this was also a piece of engraving laminate, just with a black and white photo engraved on it, or some fan art rather. We've got our metal stainless steel, of course engraved. It's a bit dusty. And we have our wood, also nicely engraved. All three, of course, set at different heights. Now, depending on how fine the adjustment was on the metal, sometimes you will have a problem with the curve. I noticed actually that my measurement was a tiny bit out on the top of this one. So you'll see there's a slightly lighter patch right here in the center. That normally happens if the focus point was not correctly calculated, and it of course goes out of focus. Right, I'm going to move over to some of our comments. Yes, I do agree, second time is a charm. It tends to be a bit of a bad day if there's not at least one problem. The other question, what will the cost be to upgrade to Flexx on a Speedy 360 watt? That will have to be calculated based on the machine, the age of the machine, etc. Also depending on what 60 watt laser source you have. I would suggest, I'm not sure if you are a customer of Trotec South Africa or one of our other subsidiaries, but contact the local guys. They will be able to give you the necessary cost as well as possibilities for your machine. Right, I think that was all for today. I don't see any other comments in our section over there. I hope everybody have enjoyed this webinar, although short. If there is anything in particular that you would want to see in the future using this platform, please do let us know in the comment section. And for any other machines, include pricing on the machines and information on our machines, please contact our great sales team and they will answer all of your questions. For any support related questions, feel free to contact us on support@trodat.co.za. I hope you guys have a lovely day further. Until next time, cheers.